Hi everyone, it's Tariq again from the whiteboard. I hope everyone is safe and well during these circumstances that we're facing. It's been a while, I didn't post anything, but everyone is just trying to stay positive and trying to stay healthy. Thank you for the comments and the support. Actually, I needed this push for me to continue posting the videos. Um, and the time has come. So let's start, or let's pick it up from where we left it. If you remember, we are going through the lessons section. We reached section 4, which is section number 4, counting elements. And what we didn't continue is the missing integer. Now, there are a lot of, let's say, questions that we need to solve. I'm going to try to cover as much as I can because some of the programming languages are, or let's say, questions that they have here are math oriented. Doesn't make sense to put a lot of effort in it. It's just formulas. So let's focus on problem solving using OOP and these kind of things. And let's start with the missing integer question. So, as you know, and as you are aware, we're going to be using PHP because I'm comfortable with it, the built-in functions and these kind of things. As we mentioned before, don't let the numbers and letters scare you because most of the cases, it's actually way simpler than you think. So let's start by reading the question. Now we have this function, of course. We are giving an array of integers and we need to return, the aim is to return the smallest positive integer that is greater than 0. That does not occur in A. So we need to find the missing integer in the array, but the condition is to be greater than 0 and an integer, of course. So for example, we have this array and it's missing a 5, therefore the function will return a 5. In that case, 1, 2, 3, we will return 4. All right, so it's not only we need to find the missing integer in the current array. This example actually shows us that we need to find out the missing integer as an addition to an array, which is can be a bit tricky but simple. And the negative cases, for example, we will return 1, of course, because it needs to be greater than 0. And as we know, we have here our limitations. We're going to visit them by the end of the solution. So I'm going to be using PHP Storm for this. Everything is prepared here. But before I start, I'm going to take this array just for us to start checking. Now, since we will return an integer, we will echo, let's say, solution here and put this one here. Let's also cover 1 to 3 minus 1 minus 3, just for us to test them correctly. Okay. And here, minus 1 minus 3. All right. So the first thing to do, that's how I deal with it. So whenever you have like a numeric array that you need to loop through or iterate, it's always best to sort it. And in this case, let's use the quick sort in PHP. It's using the built-in function sort, which is the quickest way, right? And then we will have to find a way to iterate. Now, how you will find the missing integer, it will come to you that you will loop through them, right? You loop through them and have some sort of if condition. I'm gonna demonstrate this in a bit, but you need to be careful that the largest the array, or the larger the array, the bigger the performance or the execution time. So if we have, let's say, 1 million inputs, you're gonna have to go through them one by one and these kind of things. You're not gonna stop, but I guess this is gonna be the case. Anyway, so let's start with a simple for each, and we can check the array empty or not later on as key, maybe value, key and value. Now, what I need to do, like the first thing is to have the if condition that we talked about. Maybe, yes, but we need a counter here, right? We need a counter that will start with 1 for us to compare the counter with the key, right? But I don't like this way. So as we always say, there's always a way. Try to come around or to have workarounds to your questions using variables. So the aim is not to have a lot of iterations. If you can reduce the amount of tries of if statements, that will be a smart solution, or that would be way easier for you. So my favorite way is to always have an outside help, which is I'm gonna define a variable called minimum, right? And it's one, why one? Because in the worst case scenario, where we don't have, let's say, a positive integer, we will return one. So I'm gonna call it worst case, right? And now let's keep it simple. So we will, of course, loop through them, but I'm gonna start with A as inner, all right? So here we have the value, so we're gonna go through 1 and 1, then 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay. Now my if statement will be as the following: if minimum, right, equals the inner, we will increase the minimum, right? And then let's return the minimum. It might sound a bit confusing, but as I said, we need to practice problem solving. So you're gonna have a lot of tricks in your pocket, which is by time you're gonna have multiple options to try and solve the problem. So what exactly did we do here? After we sorted the array, we ended up with an array of 1 and I believe another 1, and then 2, 3, 4, and 6, right? This is the sorted array. So what did we do here? We started with 1. And let's try to demonstrate this. 1 equal 1, then the minimum. Let's actually put the minimum here, or minimum here. So the minimum equals 2, right? And then the same thing, 2 equals 2, the minimum will be 3. So every time we have a positive case, we're going to increase the minimum. So let's think about it in the first case scenario. We are going through 1, 2, 3, 4 successfully, right? But when we reached 4, the condition here was, is 4 is equals 4, then yes, then the minimum is actually 5, correct? Now, we're going to continue this. Is 5 equals 6? No, blah, 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 these kind of things. So it's not positive, and now the minimum value is 5. We didn't increase it because we don't have any other positive scenario. Once it's 5, we will return the minimum, right? So let's try to run it. If I say missing integers, we will have 5 as we described, correct? So this is for the first case. What about the second case? Now 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's have it here. It's already sorted, right? You can have a check or a statement if it's sorted or not, but it doesn't matter actually. It's more headache and more execution time. So we started with 1, 2, 3. So we ended up on 3 in this if statement, right? If 3 equals 3, then the minimum will be 4, correct? So we have, for this example, with the minimum is ended up being 4. Now we don't have anything. We have iterated the whole array. We don't have anything to go through. Then the value of minimum is 4. Therefore, this solution, if I run it now, should return 4, correct? All right, now let's take the final case, which is the negative, which is minus 1 minus 3, right? Dun, dun. Now, the thing is, we don't have here, we don't have any positive case. So this if statement is not going to happen at all because we started with 1, right? And 1 doesn't equal minus 3 or minus 1. Therefore, the value of minimum will stay 1. So if I run this, it will return 1. See, in this simple scenario, without us using the array keys or having a lot of if statements, we were able to solve it. Now, there is always a longer way or a better way to do this. But for me, I feel like these tricks or these variables, maybe inner variables. Sometimes maybe you modify some of your for each or for loop. It is actually important to learn or to twist your mindset to use them, and it comes over time. Don't worry about it. That's it mainly. I prefer this solution for me actually. And now let's go for the, what is it called? The limitations, right? So we have two limitations here. The size of the array, correct? And the elements of the arrays. All right, perfect. So let's start with the size of the array. Since we are here, you can have a lot of checks. Let's say you can check for the empty array, but I'm not going to do that for now. I'm going to say size equals count of A, right? And if you remember, you always, whenever you count, you always have to put it in a variable because it doesn't make sense to have this functionality multiple times, like count and count and count. So you start in a variable, then you use the variable itself. It's a performance boost. Now let's have this negative if statement. So I'm gonna say if size is less than 1, right? Or size is more than 100,000, right? Now, they didn't tell us what to return for the negatives, but I assume that the function should return the minimum or smallest positive integer that are greater than 0. So in the negative case, I'm just going to return 1, right? You never know how they check and these kind of things. So this is the first check. If it's less than 1, more than 100,000. The other check is to check every single item in the array, right? So we have from -1,000,000 to 1,000,000. Boom, boom, boom. So we are already iterating through every element, right? I'm just going to replace this here, put it if it's less than 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, but it's minus. I'm going to fix it now. I'm going to tell you why. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Now, this way doesn't work as I described it. Actually, I explained why in my previous videos. The way to handle the negatives in an if statement in PHP is to give it the abs, then give the minus to the whole thing. So don't worry about it. It's just a programming language, let's say, way or syntax. So we are checking if the inner is less than 1,000,000, -1,000,000, or bigger than -1,000,000, then we will return 1 because it's invalid, right? All right, now we can actually have another thing, which is integer. And because maybe your array will have something like that to, I don't know, 0.4, or maybe it will have 1.2. It doesn't matter. So we need to check here. I don't know, I will add something like if size, maybe if size, since it's negative, I would say integer, right? Size, and be like that, right? So if it's not integer, if not is integer, but it's up to you if you want to do it or not. You want to check the empty array or not. So the checks that we can do, empty array and is integer. But I guess for now, it's actually good for us to submit this question. So let's try to see what we will do here. I remember I solved this before, but it was a long, long time ago. So let me just do thing here, and let's make it right. Okay. If we run the tests, so we have passed everything, right? And they, as I mentioned before, they do have some internal tests regarding performance and correctness after you submit. These are like sample tests. Let's try to submit and see our score. Okay. This is a new page. It's been a while actually for me. Okay, so perfect. It took us 14 minutes, which is a new score. I remember we used to solve it in 20, but this one is too easy, right? So we scored 100% correctness and performance, which is great, right? Here you can see the code or your code, the progress, blah, 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 these kind of things. And of course, the complexity. If you know the complexity, I can actually make videos about the complexity, but just let me know if you actually want me to go through this topic. And here are the additional tests that I told you about. And yeah, we passed every single one of them. If you didn't pass, let's say the performance test, you're not gonna get, or it will affect this store. So I guess that's it for this question. Please, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I will try to answer them. Until the next time, please take care and stay healthy. We'll see you soon.